Do you want to date a white Brazilian girl that looks like this, or a white Brazilian girl that looks like this, or even a white Brazilian girl that looks like this? Most guys believe that Brazilian girls all look like Pardos with dark skin, black hair, kind of a mix between indigenous and European, and that women like Gisele Bündchen are just like a one-off aberration. But I'm here to tell you that in fact, there are entire regions of Brazil filled with women that look exactly like this. And if you're interested in dating a girl like that, I'm here to tell you exactly where to go. But before I do, please click subscribe. Please click like. Let's get this video out to more people so more guys can get these types of women. All right, before I get into it, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of Brazil. This is Brazil, in case you don't know. Brazil is broken up into 5 administrative districts. The districts that you want to go to, the administrative regions, are southeast and the south in Brazil. Specifically, you want to go to Rio Grande do Sul, Santa Catarina, and Paraná. Or you can also go to Sao Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, and Espírito Santo, but that's probably going to be in another video. All right, before you actually go to all these places, though, you should just go to Rio de Janeiro. I know I get on the soapbox a lot, but Rio de Janeiro is the most beautiful city in all of South America. I think it's one of the 4 cities that every single person should visit at least once in their life. It would be kind of weird to spend a month in Porto Alegre or a month in Curitiba, but have never visited Rio de Janeiro. That's like moving to the United States from Europe and never having visited Los Angeles or New York and visited and living in like Des Moines, Iowa instead. That's just kind of weird, right? Anyway, visit Rio de Janeiro first. If you want to meet a white girl in Rio de Janeiro, you're probably going to want to go to Copacabana, Leblon, or Ipanema. I just want to give you a warning that women here are really stuck up. It's like going to Malibu in order to date women. All these women are incredibly rich, incredibly liberal, and incredibly progressive, so they're not really the type of women that you want to associate with. That being said, there are a lot of white women from other parts of Brazil that move to Rio de Janeiro in order to be able to, live in Rio de Janeiro. Rio de Janeiro is like the New York of Brazil. It's where women from all over Brazil move to. So if you want to date a woman from those types of places, you should instead stay in a place like Botafogo or Flamingo or Centro, which is much more likely to have women from other parts of Brazil moving into there. Another place that you can go to is called Niterói. Niterói is basically the middle class area of Rio de Janeiro. The problem with Rio de Janeiro is it's basically like Malibu surrounded by slums. Niterói is the middle class area. You specifically want to go to São Francisco. There's a beach there that has a whole string of bars and restaurants that are absolutely amazing to hang out in. I went there, I just got drunk, and I ended up, bringing a girl home that night. It was a great time. Anyway, let's start out with the places that you want to visit. The first place is called Porto Alegre. This is all the way in the south in Brazil. Now, the places that you want to stay in Porto Alegre are places like Floresta and Moinhos de Vento. The type of women that you're going to meet in Porto Alegre look like Fernanda Lima, look like Titi Muller, and look like Mel Lisboa. These women are much more Italian and Portuguese in terms of their mix. I'm going to be talking about all the different types of backgrounds that people go to. This is your Italian and Portuguese type of look with a little bit of Spanish as well. Now, before we move on, I'm going to give you a lot more cities, but before we move on, I want to talk about a book I wrote called How to Make Money Online. If you want to actually meet and have a relationship and maybe even marry a woman from these areas, you can't do it just being a weekend warrior, going there for like a week or 2 weeks a year. You need to actually go into the communities, have a real relationship, actually date these women, break into local groups so you can meet women that aren't on the apps and develop a real relationship. If you go there just saying, hey, I'm an American looking to find a woman to bring back to America, you're not going to find any good women who want to do that, right? If you want to find a good family-oriented woman is not going to want to leave her family and go abroad. At least not initially. You need to move down there for a little bit in order to actually develop a relationship. Now, a lot of guys want to be able to be digital nomads but don't know how to make money online. So I wrote this book basically detailing the strategy I used to be able to make money online, to be able to travel the world for a couple years before I ever had any of these channels and live a pretty good life, not working a lot, and being able to travel and visit everybody. This is a strategy that isn't like do drop shipping or do marketing. This is a way of thinking about earning money online that should be applicable no matter what type of skill set you have. So please buy this book. The link is in the description. All right, moving on. So there's Curitiba. Curitiba is the other big city in this area. The 2 big cities in this area south of Sao Paulo are Porto Alegre and Curitiba. If you're staying in Curitiba, you want to stay in Batel or Bijorilo. I think I said that right. I don't know. The types of women that you meet in Curitiba are like Grazi Massafera, Fernanda Machado, and Isabella Fontana. So Porto Alegre is the center of Italian and Spanish descended women. Curitiba is much more focused on German and Eastern European women, but because it is still a major Portuguese settlement, they do have a little bit more of the Portuguese and the Italian look with a lot of more of the German heritage. Anyway, moving on to the next cities, but remember, subscribe, like, and buy the book. Link is in the description. All right. So the next best place for you to go to is a place called Santos. Santos is kind of a suburb of Sao Paulo. In fact, a lot of people who are from Santos, if you ask them where they're from, they'll say Sao Paulo, right? In the same way that if someone is from like just outside New York City by the beach, they're going to say New York City is where they're from. The place you want to stay in Santos is called Gonzaga. The thing about Santos is that it's much more safe near the beach, but once you start going inland, it can get a little bit more dangerous. The type of women that you're going to meet in Santos look like Vera Zimmerman, Maisa Silva, and Jana Albertoni. Again, you have a lot more blonde, a lot more white, a lot more of that German look in these areas. The next best place you want to go to is Florianopolis. But the problem with Florianopolis, I just want to tell you, is that Florianopolis is the worst kept secret in Brazil. Every single guy you meet who has traveled around Brazil and you ask them, where's the best place that nobody's talking about, they're all going to say Florianopolis, which means that everybody knows about it. So the problem with places that everybody knows about is that the girls get a lot more jaded because you being a foreigner, you being an American, doesn't hold as much cachet if they meet foreigners and Americans all the time. That being said, if you want to go in Florianopolis, you should go to Lagoa and Campeche. By the way, at the end of this video, I'm going to show you the best places that are like Florianopolis but have not been infected by Americans. So please stick around to the end of the video. But if you're going to meet a girl in Florianopolis, they're going to look like Karina Badusky, Aline Weber, and Isabella Scherer. All these women are from Florianopolis. And again, I'm going to show you a much better place than this that has the exact same types of women. Now, one last place before I get to that is called Blumenau. Blumenau is the center of German heritage in Brazil. It's known for having the largest Oktoberfest in South America. The place you want to stay is called Park Villa Germanica, which literally translates to the German town park or German park town or something along those lines. The types of women that you meet there are going to look like Mariana Weikert, Anna Claudia Michels, and Bruna Erhardt. And by the way, if you actually went to Germany, these are the three types of women that exist in Germany. You have the more full-faced blonde. You have a woman from the West that looks a lot more French because they're just an area that's been like changed hands a lot of times. And then you have a woman from the East that looks like Bruna Erhardt that's a lot more of a Slavic look but still has that German sensibility to her, right? So Blumenau is basically the German part of Brazil. Moving on, before we get to the last cities, again, please buy my book, How to Make Money Online. If you want to become a digital nomad, you need to have a remote income. If you want to date these women, you have to become a digital nomad. You can't just be a weekend warrior. Also, my Instagram account just got taken down 2 days ago, and that's how I usually sold these books. So I'm really trying to make up the money that I'm losing. So please click and buy How to Make Money Online. All right, now, what I promised you earlier was the best places that are like Florianopolis but aren't Florianopolis. Well, it's literally just outside of Florianopolis is the answer, right? So you have this thing called the Santa Catarina Coast. It goes from Joinville to Florianopolis. The reason why I didn't say Joinville is because Joinville is a little bit inland. It's not really like a fun place. It's a little bit too small to actually do stuff. But you have this entire coast that goes from Florianopolis up to Joinville. And basically what I recommend doing is going to one of these small towns. Again, being a digital nomad, meeting women, buy the book, and finding out where to go. The best small towns are Itapema, Praia da Rosa, and Bombinas. But also, like, one thing that you can do to just really find a place that's off the beaten path is just go to Florianopolis, rent a car, or just Uber up the coast, find a place that you really vibe with, and settle down there. The types of women that you find in this area look like Sabrina Meyer, very Diana Freitas, I'm going to keep that there, and Diane Mello. And then finally, some last three cities that you can go to in this area are Caxias do Sul, Maringa, and Campinas. And one last time, please buy the book. Link is in the description, and click subscribe and click like so more people can see this, and you can see the next videos that come up from me. Thank you so much.